Hi, welcome to Story Mode, the place where you'll find the stories you've been waiting for. Today, we're continuing the story, How I Became the Greatest Mage Ever. Chapter 3, Dark Church. I remember that girl has an older brother. He's pretty annoying, Ben off dismissively. That trash? His combat power isn't even 5. Other than being stubborn, he's basically just a human punching bag. Beat him however you like. The man in ripped jeans cracked his knuckles. Yeah, I used to handle him alone. Now that I've built some muscle, I could crush him in 1 minute. Just as the group was chatting, Ben suddenly looked up and noticed a young man walking toward them with a cold, expressionless face. Hey, doesn't that guy look familiar? Holy crap, speak of the kid and he appears. Isn't that the girl's brother? Ben sneered as he stepped forward, his eyes filled with contempt. Humph, kid, let me tell you something. For a girl like your sister, she is lucky someone like me, Ben Wallace, would even show interest in her. It is a blessing she must have accumulated over several lifetimes. He pointed directly at Bryan. Do you think anyone else other than me wouldn't mind that she's a disabled person? For her, if anyone wants her, she should feel lucky. What's the point of pretending to be some kind of saint? Over the years, Ben's patience had run out. Look at him. Ben had looks. He had power. He's one of the wealthier in the city. If Bella dated him, she could at least live a luxurious life, with people serving her everywhere she went. That's right, one of the thugs shouted. Don't be so ungrateful. Another muscular man stepped forward and cracked his knuckles. Now, obediently call me your brother-in-law, and we'll let you go for the sake of family. He leaned closer, his voice turning cold. But if you keep acting stubborn, we'll break your legs and send you back in a wheelchair just like your sister. Hearing those words, Bryan's chest heaved violently. Originally, Bryan had already been furious. But now, after hearing Ben's cruel and humiliating words, Bryan felt as if his chest was about to explode. A disabled person? A disabled person? Bryan swore silently in his heart. Anyone who dares speak about Bella like that again will regret ever being born as a human. Stop wasting time talking to this kid. Beat him up! Someone shouted. The muscular man stepped forward confidently. I'm enough on my own. You guys just watch. He clasped his hands together, his knuckles cracking loudly. Bryan said nothing. He simply stared at them with ice-cold eyes. What those thugs didn't notice was the faint purple lightning reflected within his pupils. A star track containing immense lightning power was forming. It was like a volcano building pressure beneath Bryan's rage, ready to erupt at any moment. You really think? Bryan's voice was low and cold. That I'm still the Bryan you can slaughter whenever you want? The air around him suddenly began to tremble. A restless power surged outward, like soldiers fully armed and waiting for their general's command. Perfect. Bryan's eyes flashed with fury. Then you scums can taste the power of lightning. A furious roar burst from his throat. At that instant, 7 stars aligned. A brilliant star track formed, channeling all the lightning elemental stardust into Bryan's right arm. Zzz, what is that? How could he possibly be a magician? Ben and his group of thugs stared in horror at the scene unfolding before them. They were completely terrified. To them, a person punching a tree and leaving a mark on it was already the sign of an incredibly powerful fighter. But this was something they had never seen in their lives. Bryan's body was surrounded by crackling arcs of electricity. The air within several meters of him looked like a distorted high-voltage field. An invisible pressure pressed down on them, making their bodies tingle with fear. Lightning power! Bryan raised his arm slowly. Lightning seal! The ritual was complete. This time, Bryan had truly mastered the lightning element skill, lightning seal. His palm faced upward. The lightning arcs dancing in the air around him screeched sharply. Destroy them! Filled with rage, Bryan controlled the lightning power entirely through instinct. His hand clenched tightly. Instantly, arcs of lightning shot forward like furious serpents, crashing toward Ben and the muscular thug standing in front. Boom! The lightning strike slammed down from above. Each strike lashed them to the ground like a giant electric whip, leaving twisted scorch marks across the earth. Zzz! The thugs stood completely stunned, frozen like statues. Even though the lightning didn't even touch them. The terrifying purple lightning slowly faded after its brief but dazzling explosion. The air was thick and smelled like something was burning. The 5 men were utterly terrified. Big Brother Bryan, for the sake of growing up in the same district, please spare us. The smoker's voice trembled uncontrollably. In his eyes, this 16-year-old boy was more terrifying than any demon from his nightmares. We'll never dare do this again. Another man quickly begged as well. You're a respected mage. Please don't lower yourself to our level. Please spare us. He glanced at Ben and his friends. He absolutely did not want to end up like them. The rage burning in Bryan's chest slowly began to calm as the power of the Thunder Seal finally dissipated. He glanced at Ben and his group of friends. "Get out of my sight," Bryan said coldly. Bryan hadn't expected the initial lightning spell, Lightning Seal, to be this powerful. This had been his first true, complete release of the spell. If his control had been slightly better, if he hadn't hesitated for even a moment, that single lightning seal might have instantly killed all 5 of them. Fortunately, no one had died. Otherwise, things would have truly spiraled out of control. Yes, we're leaving right now." The man in the hoodie felt as if he had just been granted a second life. The other 4 guys quickly rushed away. Although Bryan's anger had subsided, a barely suppressed sense of exhilaration still surged within him, but he couldn't show it. Right now, he was playing the role of a ruthless executioner. There was no way he could let these idiots see the excitement bubbling inside him. Bryan walked toward the wheelchair and lifted onto his shoulder. Then he began walking down the stone steps. Behind him, Ben and his friends continued staring at him with lingering fear. Suddenly, Bryan stopped and turned around. The 5 thugs immediately staggered backward in panic. "Oh, also," Bryan said calmly, "if anyone asks about this, just say they were stealing electricity. If any of you dare tell people that I'm a mage," his eyes turned cold, "I'll make sure you never speak again. I've heard the police don't give mages too much trouble when accidents happen, especially when the victims are trash who dared provoke a mage." The 5 men nodded violently, like obedient puppets. As for who been here, Bryan gave them a knowing glance. "I'm sure you're smart enough to know what not to say, right?" The 5 men quickly replied, "We didn't see you." Bryan smirked. "Good, you're smart. Then we'll consider this matter settled. If you ever need anything in the future, you can come find me. You've already seen what I'm capable of." Yes, Brother Bryan, take care." The 5 guys bowed repeatedly, both respectful and terrified. Bryan nodded casually, hoisted the wheelchair onto his shoulder, and walked away. First, give them a painful beating, then offer them a small favor. Bryan knew these guys wouldn't dare cause trouble again, let alone reveal a single word of what happened. Descending the stone steps, Bryan finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He burst out laughing. Just a few months ago, he had been nothing more than an ordinary student sitting in a classroom, bored during history class, staring out the window. Sometimes he would daydream. He imagined himself suddenly soaring into the sky, his feet lightly touching the school's flagpole as he flew toward the distant horizon, where the back hill met the endless blue sky. Other times he imagined encountering thugs who angered him. In those fantasies, he would raise his hand and summon some mysterious power, crushing them all with overwhelming strength. But who could have imagined that today he would actually experience it for real? Wielding the power of lightning, the 5 thugs he normally couldn't even handle were nothing more than 5 stray dogs before him. The feeling was indescribable. It was thrilling, almost unreal, like a dream. The lightning element's basic skill, Lightning Seal, is already this powerful, Bryan muttered excitedly. I wonder how strong the fire element's basic skill, Fire Blast, is. There are still 6 months until the annual magic assessment. That should be enough time for me to learn it. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. If the lightning element's basic spell was already this powerful, then what about the other elements? And basic magic was only the lowest level. Above that were intermediate spells, and even advanced magic. Right, the wind magic teacher. Right, the wind magic teacher mentioned something in the first lesson. Bryan suddenly remembered. The advanced wind spell, Wind Wings, the one that lets people fly. His eyes lit up. Holy crap! If I could learn Wind Wings, how awesome would that be? Even after walking for quite a while, Bryan still couldn't calm down. His mind kept racing through everything he had learned about magic, imagining all the incredible abilities a mage could possess. Meanwhile, on the swing nearby, the girl with long, straight hair sat quietly. Her head tilted slightly as she gazed toward the way Bryan headed. That purple light just now, Bella murmured softly. She had clearly seen it earlier. A dazzling flash of purple lightning, like the tail of a shooting star, had appeared near that area. Although it vanished quickly, the image remained vivid in her mind. Was that a magician? She whispered. It was hard to imagine a magician appearing in such a small town, but if that really had been magic, then why did it appear where Bryan and those thugs were? And why would someone actually use magic there? Brother Bryan, is he all right? Bella felt uneasy, unconsciously biting her lip. Then suddenly, on the stone steps, a familiar figure appeared. Bryan walked toward her, carrying the wheelchair in both hands. There was even a slightly foolish, almost intoxicated smile on his face. Thanks goodness you're all right. Bella finally relaxed. Belle, I've already dealt with those guys, Bryan said casually as he placed the wheelchair in front of her. They won't bother you anymore. Bella hesitated for a moment. I just saw lightning, she said slowly. It looked like the basic lightning spell, Lightning Seal. Hearing that, Bryan immediately felt proud, but he didn't admit anything. Instead, he simply stared at his sister with a mischievous smile. Bella sensed something was off. After thinking carefully, surprise suddenly flashed across her beautiful eyes. The person who used Lightning Seal, her voice trembled slightly, was you, Brother Bryan? Bryan still didn't answer. He simply kept smiling. It really was you. Bella's eyes widened in disbelief. Brother Bryan, you're a magician now. Haha, you're the first person to witness my true power, Bryan said proudly. Overcome with excitement, he suddenly leaned forward and gave his little sister a lightly kiss on her cheek. Bella froze. She had been completely unprepared for the sudden attack. Her face instantly turned pink, then deep red, spreading all the way down to her neck. Bryan quickly realized he had gone too far. I'm sorry, he said quickly. I just got too excited. Bella lowered her head slightly. Her voice was barely audible. So, you're really a magician now? Bryan nodded. Our teacher once said that only 1 in 1,000 people awaken the lightning element, Bella said softly. And among beginner-level magic, lightning is considered the strongest. She looked genuinely happy for him. Bella understood their family's situation very well. After their dad adapted her to become part of their family, their dad burden had grown even heavier. Her aunt had once mentioned that he had already sold the house. That meant their family was truly struggling. She and her brother Bryan were still young. There was little they could do to help right now. The only thing they could do was study hard and become real magicians. Only then could they help their family escape their current difficulties. Looks like Brother Bryan really is amazing, mastering magic so quickly. Then suddenly, Bella paused. Something didn't seem right. Her beautiful eyes locked onto Bryan. Bryan looked confused. What's wrong? You've only awakened for less than half a year, Bella said slowly. As far as I know, even the most talented people need almost a year to master a basic spell. Bryan froze. Wait, what? Even geniuses needed a year? But he had already mastered it in less than half a year. He had never thought much about it. After all, even someone like Caleb had already formed 4 or 5 stars. So, wasn't it normal to be able to cast magic? But now Bella was staring at him like he was some kind of monster. Could it be that mastering basic magic in less than half a year was abnormal in this world? What kind of talent level are you referring to when you say, even talented people need a year? Bryan asked cautiously. He didn't want to reveal how little he actually knew about this world. Ashley Luna, Bella replied. She's the most gifted person in the whole city. She was even directly admitted into the Imperial Capital Academy. Yet even she needed 8 months to go from awakening to mastering a basic ice spell. 8 months? Bryan was completely stunned. Ashley was the pride of the Luna family, a true genius surrounded by the best magical resources. If even she needed 8 months, then what did it mean that he had done it in 5? Holy crap. Holy freaking crap! Bryan felt his brain spinning. If Ashley was considered a prodigy, then wouldn't his 5 months be defying the heavens? Bella suddenly spoke again, her voice quiet and hesitant. Brother Bryan, you didn't learn anything strange, did you? I once heard an old scholar say that someone with this kind of cultivation speed could only belong to the Dark Church. The Dark Church was known for forbidden magical techniques that drastically increased cultivation speed. Bella couldn't imagine any other explanation. Bryan immediately panicked. The Dark Church, he said quickly. Actually, it's like this. I didn't awaken during the opening ceremony. Before that, I met an old man who told me I had extraordinary talent. He said he was from the Capital Magic Association and helped me awaken earlier. So, technically, I didn't learn it in just 5 months. Bella blinked in confusion, but after a moment, she smiled gently. So you awakened early. Although early awakening can sometimes affect cultivation, if it was done by someone from the Magic Association, it should be fine. Bryan finally breathed a sigh of relief. Damn, that was close. He really was a monster. It seemed he shouldn't reveal too much until he fully understood this world. Is 5 months really something only the Dark Church could achieve? Bryan asked carefully. Yes, Bella nodded seriously. Bryan immediately broke into a cold sweat. Being too talented wasn't always a good thing. Originally, he had wanted to surprise his sister by showing her his fire element as well, but now it seemed he should keep that secret for the time being. First, he needed to go back and read some books. Otherwise, people might actually mistake him for a member of the Dark Church.